want people who are suffering right now, people who cannot pay their mortgage, people who have been separated from their families, people who are sitting in deportation camps, concentration camps, foreign and domestic. Those people do not want to see people. It is.
No, it's
it
not.
Is.
I'm Jewish, and it is not offensive. It's not.
It
It's not. It's not a death
get 1,000 texts. People do not.
It's
Comparing
not a
that to the
I
Holocaust
imagine
is
1,000.
wild.
I honestly wish they were more offended by the action of this administration. I wish they were more offended by the action of this administration instead of my language.
So several things. One is the self-deportation is actually, I mean, they're paying each one $1,000 and sending them with a free plane ticket. So self-deportation is really not a scary thing. But the reality is...
I don't think that's the point. I think the point is like,
that is the point,
people have lives here.
Self-deportation
Maybe some of them are trying to appeal
the left side of
their
the table
status,
was portraying somehow that the self-deportation was somehow weighing in hard and pressing down on people. It's like saying, hey, if you'll do it this way, we'll even pay you to go. How awesome is that? Here's a free ticket and a flight home.
Hold on, Phil, but
the reality is we also voted for the numbers at the border.
Just to be honest, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but just remember, we're talking about human beings here.
We are.
Okay, some of them have families, they have jobs, they have communities.
We're also talking about the rule of law.
I get that too, but I'm just saying the way you're describing it, it's like just get on a plane and here's $1,000. I mean, it's that we're talking about. We're not talking about, you know.
If you put it in context.
Anderson, Sasha, and Julio are now settling in Mexico, but they join a newly emerging community of people who are voluntarily departing the United States. It's called self-deportations, and it's part of the Trump administration's strategy. Senior Trump officials have touted it often, and they've taken to the airwaves with multi-million-dollar ad campaigns and offering financial incentives, like one-way tickets to the country where they have legal status and $1,000 exit bonus once they arrive. But for Sasha and Julio, they didn't need that. It was the uncertainty of what was to come with the immigration crackdown that was enough to get them to leave. But also, Anderson, what we learned over the course of this reporting is it's not just undocumented immigrants making these decisions, but also the U.S. citizens that they are married with or have children.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about CNN coping over the fact that we have mass self-deportations happening in this country, okay? It is something that is happening as a result of President Trump's policies that serve as a deterrent and a warning that if you try to come here to the United States of America illegally, first and foremost, you're going to have a really hard time because the military's at the border. Who knows, okay? There could be some fatal consequences for trying to cross the border. And then if you happen to get into the country, you're going to have an even harder time because essentially ICE will be hunting you down, okay? And if you get caught, especially if you commit crimes in this country, then you can end up in alligator Alcatraz, right? You can end up in a really, really, really bad place, or even worse, in El Salvador, right? Some prison, or maybe even dropped off in some war-torn country like South Sudan. Those deterrents are effective. Right? Some people say, oh, well, they're inhumane. Oh, we don't like it. How they treat the illegals. But again, people got to realize when you're in leadership, you can't think with your emotions. Okay. You can't be like some of these normies. You got to understand that deterrents are important, right? If you don't have deterrents, then your policies don't have teeth to them, right? You have to incentivize people to not do certain things. And that's the point. The point is not, to be a bad person. The point is to fix a problem that was created by Joe Biden and the Democrats for the last 4 years, letting in tens of millions of illegals. And now we have to get them out. And part of the effort to get them out is to incentivize people to leave, right? Not just to not come in, but also to leave. And apparently there has been mass self-deportations because people are deciding that, you know what, I'd rather take my how much they offering, $1,000 a free flight and get up on out of here, okay, rather than to stay and to risk, getting put in what the left is now calling a concentration camp, right? So that is the decision that this family made, and CNN is going to cope over the reality that these people are leaving, right, that they are self-deporting. So without further ado, let's get it.
These are the main pictures from our house that we didn't want to just throw away.
Sasha Mendoza has the impossible task of packing up her family's life in Pittsburgh into a handful of suitcases.
It's really hard to tell a 4-year-old that they can't bring their toys or their stuffed animal. There's just not enough room. We can't put a stuffed animal and then have no pants. I've literally never felt anxiety the way that I have in the last 2 years here.
So you are saying bye to the U.S. for good?
For good, yeah. Yeah, for good.
Fearful of President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown, Sasha, her husband Julio, and their 3 kids are leaving behind the life they built together.
What are you the most excited for in Mexico?
The pool.
The pool?
And the beach.
The beach?
Julio is an undocumented immigrant from Mexico. Sasha and their 3 children are all U.S. citizens. They decided to make the move together only moments after Trump took office.
There was an executive order being signed, and that was her call for, said, like, what do you think about moving to Mexico? And I said, honestly, at this point, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, why not? What's wrong with that? I don't see what's wrong with that, okay? I mean, obviously they eating good in the United States of America. Right? They eating real good here. But at the same time, if they move to Mexico, right, I don't think their lives are going to be that much worse, right? I don't think it's going to be bad, right? I think it's going to be fine. Mexico has some nice beaches, right? Some nice places, okay? They all probably speak a common language. No big deal, right? No big deal. I don't understand what's so inhumane about them packing up and going to Mexico. Now, this is a weird situation because I don't know why, this guy hasn't tried to marry this woman. This woman is a U.S. citizen. He is not. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that situation. But regardless, they've decided that they can have a better life in Mexico. Okay. And I don't see what's wrong with this, right? I don't see what's so sad about it. Okay. They seem to be pretty excited to go to Mexico, to be honest with you.
Honestly, at this point, yeah, let's do it.
We're gonna move to Mexico.
We're gonna move to Mexico, not today.
And with that, the family began to wind down their lives, sifting through keepsakes and moving out of their home.
Say bye to the house.
Bye. Miss you.
When you were dating, did your status as being undocumented come up at all?
And then our first date, we kind of were mentioning it without mentioning it, and at one point he ordered a drink and he asked for extra ice, and I said, no, we don't do ice here, and he was like, That was the only thing we could say.
So by the way,
Julio crossed the U.S. southern border when he was 11 years old, and he's lived in Pittsburgh ever since.
One of his first concerns when we talked about moving is how am I going to watch the Steeler games?
You're a Pittsburgh native for all intents and purposes.
Oh my God, yeah.
What made Trump a second term more nerve-wracking for you, that to come to a decision that you had to leave the country?
There are no limits. There are no limits on being a target. The only main concern is he looks brown, he looks different, he don't speak English. He's the one. It doesn't matter.
If that's what you want to believe, then hey, that's not true. But if that's what you want to believe, it is what it is, right? If that's what gets you to self-deport, hey, because again, like we went over, there's a lot of brainwashing in the media. They want people to think that, well, ICE, they're racially profiling. If you're brown and you speak Spanish, you can be deported, right? No matter what, right? No matter what, even if you're a citizen. Not true, okay? But if they want to believe that and that motivates them to leave anyways, cool. Who am I to say, oh, that's not true, right? Who am I to say, oh, that's exaggeration, that you're being ridiculous? Nah, if that's what you want to believe, if that motivates you to self-deport, then believe that, right? Believe that. And see, that's the funny part about the Democrats and their lies. Their lies and their exaggerations are actually backfiring in the sense that it is motivating people to leave, right? Rather than to stay because, again, of the lies.
Where things stand tonight in the case of Gilmar Abrego Garcia.
They were confronted with their worst nightmare when Gilmar Abrego Garcia was mistakenly deported to a notorious mega prison in El Salvador.
I can see myself in that, and I don't want us to wait until we're in the same situation.
There are people who will say, you came to the U.S. illegally. Why didn't you do it the right way? What do you say to people?
If you were to be put in my situation at my age to tell me do it the right way, the whole process pretty much takes about 15 to 20 years. By that time, I don't think my kids or anyone's kids who are starving or in a dangerous situation can wait 15, 20 years for you to come here and start working.
What did we say that we could get when we get there?
OPS Summit.
No, we did not say that.
How did you approach the conversation with your kids? They know the realistic part of it, which is that it will be very difficult for them to adapt to, especially mostly language-wise. That's like our biggest thing. They're not anywhere near fluent, and they are going to be going into a school that is Spanish-speaking. Who's that? That's you!
For Sasha, leaving the U.S. also means saying goodbye to the places she's called home.
You grew up at this house. What is it like for you to leave this house and what it represents to you? It is definitely hard because, yeah, there's a lot of good memories. This has always been like the kind of comeback place. As far as we know, we won't be able to do that. We've kind of all decided that today is most likely the last time that we'll all be like in the same place at the same time.
Hours of research behind them, the Mendoza family spent their final days in Pittsburgh saying goodbye to family and friends.
Stay in touch, right? No? I love it to a big dog. Stay safe. Stay safe.
It's a decision not taken lightly, but for Julio, no other choice.
Rolling the dice will be staying here. That will be rolling the dice. Playing with my life, playing with my kids' life, playing with my wife's life. That will be a gamble. I would say it's taking a gamble. I'm taking a certain win on this one, for sure.
Yeah, so again, CNN, they think that this type of propaganda is gonna change my mind, right? It's not changing my mind. It's just make me say, okay, yeah, it's working, right? Again, this guy's here illegally, and you know, hey, he got a family and stuff, but it is what it is. I mean, she knew he was here illegally before she decided to start a family with him. So, you know, they didn't go through the process of trying to get it corrected for whatever reason, right? Even though they're in a relationship or whatever, and now he's going back to Mexico. You know, I mean, I'm sure he got some family there. He got other folks there. You know, it's not that big of a deal. They'll be all right. Okay, the kids can come back. the woman, she can come back. And who knows? Maybe the man, he can try to do it the right way and come back at a later date. I'm just saying, you know, I would prefer that to, you know, living in the country illegally. And what you're seeing here are that, you know, President Trump's policies are working. So even if, you know, they come out here and they say, oh, well, Trump is physically deporting less people than Obama, but you got to add in the self-deportations. You got to add in the fact that there are people who are actually saying, nah, I'm going back to Mexico. I'm going back to the country I'm from. I would rather just leave before being subject to, you know, the mass deportation or having ICE show up to my door and then, you know, taking me to what the left calls a concentration camp. They rather just leave on their own terms. And I'm cool with that, right? And just, you know, if you want to try to come back in legally, I'm all for that, right? I'm all for coming back in the right way. But, you know, as of right now, if you're here illegally, then you got to go. It is what it is. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.